excited to be back to work with our team. Good team meeting this morning. Opportunity to objectively, review our performance against ULM. I think there's a lot of things that we saw throughout 4 quarters of play that we're going to have an opportunity to build off of, and plenty to see on tape of things that we need to continue to address and improve upon. Really challenged our football team over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours. A couple wins in a row here. I feel like this team has made weekly improvement, but comfort is our enemy. Just because we found a little bit of success doesn't mean that we are where we need to be. And what an incredible test that we have in front of us this week. A great opponent in Penn State, very talented football team, very well coached in all 3 phases. Coordinators in all 3 phases, specifically on offense and defense, are going to find a lot of different ways to stress us, along with the talent that they have on the field, going into a hostile environment. One of which this team specifically in 2025 has not experienced an environment like we'll experience at Penn State. And, an awesome challenge for this football team, and a challenge that, our team's looking forward to.
So just coming off back-to-back wins, how do you describe the morale and the belief that's in this group as you head into your first road test in well over a month?
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but this is a fun team. This is a fun group to coach. Very mature. When it's cliche, but when you challenge a team to take it one day at a time, that's easier said than done. I think this team, specifically from our leadership, has approached it that way, and to be coming off a couple wins here at home. I think what this group understands is that when we get all 11 people on the same page, we communicate well, and we execute. We got a chance to be pretty darn good, and ultimately it comes back to coming back today like we did, evaluate things that we're doing well, things that we need to improve upon, and come back this evening and have a great first practice in preparation for Penn State. But our group is grounded, humble. We need to continue to stay humble and hungry, but it's a group that you can sense the level of confidence starting to build.
Coach, first drive for ULM, they basically go right downfield at the flea flicker to score, and then after that, they basically don't get into the red zone again. What adjustments did you guys make, and what do you think that says about the pride and character of your defense?
Yeah, I think it really speaks to our poise and our ability to respond. There were some adjustments made, but nothing major. Just had to settle in. And ultimately, not the start that we're looking for as a football team or as a defense, but was proud of the way that our guys took a deep breath and, from there on out, really settled into the game. That 4th down stop, I believe, in the second quarter was a critical juncture in the game. And it all started off on a 3rd down of us doing a great job of communicating on defense, getting everyone on the same page, turning it into a 4th down, and to be able to get off the field on that 4th down was a momentum that.
The last few games you had great success on the ground. In this last game specifically, you had Komoloff and Reeder with 24 carries. Joe Hyman had 26 snaps, but just a couple carries and a couple receptions. What's his role in the backfield going forward?
It has to be elevated and expanded. Ultimately the plan going into the game was, I don't know what Joe exactly finished in terms of touches, but we need to get Joe Hyman more touches, not only out of the backfield but in other scenarios as well. Excited about the development of that entire room, with Robbie Preckle getting a couple carries and Reeder showing some good things, and Komoloff just continues to elevate. But Joe Hyman, one of the first things that Coach Lujan said to me, post game is we need to make sure we're getting the ball in Joe's hands more often.
Any update on Karlaftis or the guys who are rehabbing to come in?
Yeah, Yanni's going to be a long-term deal, unfortunately, and I'm crushed for Yanni. Yanni's one of those guys that obviously transferred in here from Purdue, but I told him this yesterday when I was talking with him. Like, Yanni was here for 3 weeks, and you thought Yanni had been here for 3 years. I mean, just the way that he integrated in this team, the energy that he brings, the passion for the game of football that he has. He's going to be missed in terms of his impact that he was having on our defense, and as well as his huge impact on special teams. We'll know more after tonight's practice in terms of where some of those other guys are at, but we're optimistic about what we're seeing specifically out of Josh and Damon Walters.
It seems like Penn State's going to make a real conscious effort to get the ball in Katron Allen's hands. How would you assess your defense's ability to potentially have success against a guy who's averaging 7 yards a carry?
Yeah, I mean that is a talented dude. At the end of the day, like if we want to win in the Big Ten, we got to find ways to effectively stop the run, and we're going to be facing two of the best backs in the country this weekend. So it's going to be an incredible challenge for our front seven, our defense as a whole. But that guy's a special football player, and we're going to have to tackle well. We're going to have to play with great leverage, and we're going to have to populate the football and make sure that we got multiple guys at the point of attack.
Coach, who are you expecting to have step into that Sam spot now that Giannis Karlaftis is out?
Yeah, that's something that we'll work through. I'm excited about maybe not some guys that have shown up specifically playing defensive reps this year, but have shown a lot of development over the course of fall camp and this season. Some guys that are really showing up on special teams. The development of Peyton Roth and Nigel Glover. But ultimately what we have to evaluate is how do we get our best 11 on the field, and that's something that conversations have already started, yesterday and into today, and something that we'll have to evaluate as we work our way through the game plan.
Coach, one of the biggest successes for UCLA against Penn State was the quarterback run game. Imaliava had over 100 yards on the ground, I think, and then Preston had 49 himself. So what do you guys see from that game that UCLA did that you guys think you could use against that Penn State defense?
Yeah, ultimately I thought UCLA did, a great job, especially in situational football, whether it be short yardage, or goal line situations of utilizing quarterback run. Even on their last attempt in a short yardage situation to pick up essentially first down that would have ended the game. They decided to, put the ball in Nico's hands, and ultimately were unsuccessful on that. But that just stresses the defense. It doesn't matter if it's Penn State or others. Nico was incredibly effective, especially on third down, with his ability to scramble, things that we experienced when we went against Nico. It has been really encouraging to see Preston's development in terms of understanding whether it be extending plays to throw the ball, extending plays and making wise decisions to throw the ball away, or extending plays and taking off with his feet. And he's proven over the course of the last couple weeks that he can utilize his legs to be a threat and be a weapon, and that's something that needs to continue. I don't think Preston's anyone that we're ever going to go into a game plan saying that we're going to intentionally carry him a bunch, but he definitely can utilize his athleticism to be efficient and keep us ahead of the chains.
Coach, I believe based on participation reports that John Stevens has played in all 5 games so far. You also have Elijah Jones at 4 games. Those are both 2 true freshman guys that are contributing, but also not always starting with the first guys if they're healthy. Are you operating under the expectation that the redshirt rule is going to change soon? And can you kind of talk about your process of getting those guys so many early reps?
Matt, it has to change. I don't know if it was last week we talked about this or previously, but roster size is shrinking down. The way that we're currently structured with red shirts and playing up to 4 games and opportunity to get into the college football playoff, where now you're not just playing 12 games, but just the season as a whole. And I know those games in the playoff don't count, but ultimately, just the entire scope and how things have changed so dramatically in the last couple of years, for us to be operating off a system that was put in place years ago, it has to change. We've been really transparent with our football team that ultimately, if you've positioned yourself to help this football team and you're the best person for the job, whether it be on special teams or defense, you got to be ready to play. And ultimately, in terms of the way that we're structured and the rules and governance that goes over it, we need to get we need to get rid of redshirting. It's in the best interest of our young student athletes to not be navigating that. And to be honest with you, trying to navigate that with roster sizes shrinking from a roster management standpoint just is not sustainable.
Coach, what went into the decision to give Reeder that uptick in carries at the start of the second half? And on a more general note, how would you describe just the strides you see him take from the start of the season to how he's carrying himself now?
Yeah, you know, Coach Thompson does a great job of, you know, working through that on the front end in terms of having a good plan. There definitely was an intentionality behind trying to get him some carries and get him in a rhythm. The amount of carries that he ended up with was probably more than we initially planned, but the way that the game went with the game flow and where the score was at in the fourth quarter led to a few more carries than we anticipated. But I can't speak highly enough of the progress that we've seen out of Deshaun. Like, I mean, just, and the fun part is he ended up leading our team in rushing, but he's also someone that is like consistently standing out on special teams, specifically on our kickoff unit. It's a credit to the young man, his willingness to be honest with himself, take constructive criticism, and get to work. The summer that he had, the fall camp that he had, it's all showing up on the field right now.